Hey guys, it is Chad from the Teach Better team, and I am here with the amazing Amanda Bolin. Amanda, how are you doing tonight?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing so well. I just can't believe that I'm sitting here talking to you.
Oh my gosh, you're also one of my favorite people to talk to. And more importantly, and more excitingly, we're here to talk about the brand new course that just launched on Teach Better Academy, which is Elementary Gone Grid, which is going to answer all of the questions that we've been getting for the last forever about using elementary um, grids and using the grid method in the elementary classroom. So I know you guys have those questions. This course is going to answer them for you. And me and Amanda, in a couple seconds, are going to dive into some of those things right now. So we'll be back in just a sec and let's get started. How are you doing tonight, Amanda? I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this all week. I'm super stoked.
I've been counting down to this moment for like a couple of months. Well, creating the course, like I've been waiting for this moment for months. So I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
Way
And
too long, right? And we work on the same team, which is just crazy. I know.
I know we're busy or something. I don't know.
Just a
Right?
little.
Just a little bit. So yeah, super. Oh my gosh, I love this comment. Oh, Jeff. So
Maybe we
hold on a
should
minute.
be the president and vice president of the grid. That
I was
sounds
gonna say,
good.
who's the president, Jeff?
You can have that spot. I don't need that much pressure on me. That's okay. You can have it, Amanda. Especially after, by the way, seeing this amazing course. I think you deserve the presidency of grid. Absolutely. So this brand new course is called Elementary Gone Grid. I love that title. It's at teachbetteracademy.com. So if you haven't already, go over to teachbetteracademy.com and just check it out. There's a ton of information on it. But I want to dive into some of this because Amanda and Ray Hewart both have been spending the last few months working on this course. And it's just absolutely amazing. Now, Amanda, I want to start before we dive into the course. I got to be honest, I work with teachers across the country on the grid method at every single grade level. But I can tell you, if there's one group of teachers that has the most doubt in their minds about this working for them, from my experience, it's elementary teachers. Now, personally, this always has really surprised me because I think elementary teachers were sort of made for this type of learning. You guys have so many tools in your belt that like work really beautifully with grid. So sometimes I feel like you just need to kind of brush the stuff away from their eyes so they can see it. And I think that's kind of what this course does. So, what are some things? What are some of those initial things you would tell a teacher who's like, "Hey, I've heard of the grid method, but I'm an elementary teacher. I'm not sure if this is going to work because my kids can barely read. They're still learning how to tie their shoe, like whatever those things are. K through 4, like whatever you're considering elementary. What are some of those initial things or thoughts you have on that?
I think the biggest thing I would tell them is it's not really much different from what you already do every single day. We're used to juggling about 15 balls in the air. At least, as primary teachers, I teach second grade and I taught kindergarten for, 4 years. So I feel like the biggest thing is just it's not really new. It's just a shift in a mindset of what you're already doing and implementing that with this new mindset of mastery learning and having true belief that students this young can truly reach mastery in what you're teaching them and become more independent. So I mean, I get so many questions about this, which is why I'm so excited for this course.
Me too. I know.
But I mean, I think the biggest thing is I would say it's really not anything new. It's just a shift in that mindset.
I love that. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I see that almost every single day in elementary classrooms when I get to visit them and work with elementary teachers. Um, but I think you kind of bring up a good point, and one of the 17 videos modules in this course, which by the way, it's 17 videos of amazing content. So you are going to have no shortage of information, ideas, and resources for you to take back to your classroom and just rock this out. I can honestly say that after just it's so in depth, it's so perfect. I'm so excited. But of those 17 videos, one of the things that you cover in this course, and I'd like you to talk on it a little bit now, is that if you're watching this, hopefully you know what the grid method is. And I work with teachers at all different grade levels. But there is something different about applying mastery learning and self-paced learning to an elementary classroom. Um, why is elementary different, right? Like what makes elementary a little bit different when we apply this framework to the elementary grade levels?
There are two major things that I think really hold people from attempting this, and it's because elementary students are not nearly as independent.
Yeah.
And they don't have that learning stamina built up yet. And I think a lot of people think, man, like that's a lot of independent time. That's a lot of, them working through things and trying things that are new and oh, we just don't have time for that. Or, I have all this that I have to do and I don't have time for them to work for this long, or they can't even work this long because their attention span is 5 minutes. So, the biggest thing that just makes it different is that you have to really work with students, I would say K through 4, probably,
Right.
with building the independence and just, them not asking you questions constantly. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I don't know how to do this. Trust me, I hear that about 17 times a day anyway. And it's just,
Yeah.
it's a learning curve for them. And I think teachers are just, a little nervous about that learning curve. And then also sitting and working, or if you are able to do flexible seating in your classroom, standing and working, or, laying and working, kids just don't have that ability to work for long periods of time initially. And that's something you have to build up. And when you get into the upper grades, kids are used to that kind of stamina.
Yeah.
And you have to build that. And so for elementary, it's just a whole different ball game for really those two reasons. There are tons more that I could go over, but those are two of the big ones.
I love that. I'm actually going to steal the phrase learning stamina, and I'm going to use it forever now because I love that. I will gladly give you credit every time I say it out loud at a training. But like, I really like that idea. We need to build that stamina for students. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been in your amazing classroom running the grid method, and I think another component of that stamina is doing amazing things like flexible movement and seating, building in games and high engagement level activities into your grid, using multiple modalities and things like that. Like if you've never been to Amanda's classroom, and most of you probably haven't, because that would be weird if most people had been to Amanda's classroom, but I have, and I can tell you, there is a group over here on the carpet playing a card sort game. There's a student doing a cut and paste and moving something over here. There's another student doing a more traditional worksheet over here. And then she's working with a small group at a table over, like, it's a magical environment that, like, I love being, like, visiting your classroom is so awesome. And I just want everyone to know that, like, this course is being created by someone who has an amazing classroom environment themselves. And then along with Ray Hubert, who we know has an amazing classroom environment. So the fact that both of you worked on this together is just mind blowing to me. I've already taken the course. I'm going to take it a couple times so I could be better at implementing the grid, I think, just on a personal level. For future years.
That's why I'm the president and you're the vice president.
Right, exactly, absolutely. So I love that whole learning stamina. And I love the fact that this course takes those things head on, right? You're not like brushing some of those concerns under the rug. You're not going, well, we're not going to talk about that, but just do this thing over here. You're like, no, here are all the things you're probably worried about. And we're going to knock those pins down one by one and give you practical strategies and solutions to implement in your classroom. So I just love that. And speaking of the classroom, one of the other topics that's really heavily covered in this course is just ways to organize an elementary classroom to be successful with the grid. Now, I know, like I said, there's 17 videos in this course, so much amazing content that you and Ray put together. But in terms of organizing your classroom, what are like the top 2 or 3 things that you think are different in organizing an elementary classroom from, let's say, a middle or a high school classroom when you're running grid?
I think especially for younger students, kindergarten, first grade, I think the biggest thing for them is that they're not yet secure in reading. So I think a lot of the organization that you do with them would be like color coding and pictures and that kind of thing. That's more of like a center-based type of thing. So
beautiful. Absolutely.
Kids in that, like you kind of have to know your grade level, know your kids to set up the organization. So kind of that K1 band, I think, is more of using like color coding, symbols, things like that. For like second, third grade, I'm just going to kind of do one per grade band because that's what
you're good. You just keep going. I'm just soaking this in right now.
For like
I'm getting as much as everybody listening at the moment. So,
for grade bands 2, 3, I think the biggest thing there is setting it up to where they can be independent, but still bringing in for those, especially those students that maybe are struggling, still bringing in like aspects of the color coding, but kind of pushing them to being more independent with like grid boxes where things are sorted, or different folders for different subjects, which, you know, I would love to touch on too, because that's just a whole different
that's actually next on my list, right? So we'll get to it.
Yay. And then, you know, just, I think the biggest thing is just also to the setup of the classroom. So it goes from like the nitty gritty, like what does the grid actually look like, but it also goes to what does your classroom look like? So I know in the COVID era, things are weird and
you have to put an asterisk next to everything you say, basically.
Like, like seriously, there's a disclaimer.
Possible due to COVID restrictions.
Right. And you know, with some districts, you know, they've loosened up restrictions and things like that. But you know, just using flexible seating or using choice of where kids sit or things like that. That's another organizational thing that you may think will make the room look like complete, like a complete zoo. But I call it organized chaos. And as long as you know what's going on and the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing, I mean, you know, it's okay. As long as you have a reason for why it is, I think that that's a great thing because kids are able to learn how they need to.
Yeah.
And every kid learns different.
Absolutely. So like you just touched on like 15 things that you go way deeper into on the course. So if you're keeping track, there's a lot in here that they're going to dive into in this course. And the other thing you touched on that I think is really important to address with elementary is like, if I'm talking to a middle school science teacher, they teach science. That's all they teach. Maybe they teach 2 grade levels, but they teach science most of the time, or they teach 1 science and 1 math or something like that. But when you're talking about a fully inclusive classroom, 20 kids, 30 kids you have all day, potentially in an elementary classroom, and you're teaching every subject every day or throughout every week, you're probably touching on multiple subjects. So a lot of teachers, the first thing they ask me is, whoa, Chad, I don't think I'm going to make a grid for every subject for next week. Like that seems like a lot. So like, how do you address that? Or what are some of the tips or the bullet points in this course that can help teachers through like dealing with this? Like I teach 5 different things every single day. How do I do the grid?
First of all, if someone is attempting to make grids for everything, bless you is what I'm going to say. Because
or don't immediately. Right.
Don't do it. You know, and I touch on this in the course, you know, whenever I started with my teammate doing grid, we started with 1 subject. And we kind of mastered how to do that first. So my first
Yes.
suggestion is just start with one.
I
And
love that.
to be honest with you, start with the easiest subject you teach, which for me was math, mainly because we had resources and a curriculum that we used.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't have to create it out of nothing. Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel completely when I'm starting something brand new. So, so I would suggest doing that. But then once you do bring in multiple subjects, I run one for language arts and one for math.
Right.
Don't separate your language arts grid into 15 different grids. Spelling, grammar, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that.
Don't, I hope not.
Don't do that. I just focus on like those core standards that you need to teach over and over. And then the ones that spiral, you're automatically going to put through your grids. So the ones you're going to cover over and over again, don't make a separate grid for something you're going to cover all year long, because
yes. This is such a huge thing. I love that you just said that, because those year-long things are what you build your grid with. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that are going to make up the meat and potatoes of what students are doing or what you're looking for throughout the grid, not the focus of what you're measuring in that one unit. And this is such a hard concept for whatever reason. So I love the fact that you're going to dig in during this course and really show them, like, it's okay. You don't need to have a whole using commas grid or whatever. You can, fill in the blank with whatever grammatical. Yeah, I don't even know if that's an elementary standard. It probably is, but I'll cater to your expertise for that.
It's funny, we're working on commas next week, so that's the way it is. Commas in a list of nouns or verbs. That's next week. One more thing too with that is, if you're running two separate grids, like a math and a language arts, I touch on the fact that you want them to be similar enough so students know the process with the grid just in general, but you want them in like distinct locations in your classroom so that students don't.
That's a really good point.
So like they don't accidentally, because it will happen, they don't accidentally go to the wrong grid box or to the wrong area to get.
Yeah, because the 1A on the math grid and the 1A on the, or the A box and A box on both. I could totally see that just creating havoc if you're not very specific,
Yeah, that would just be pure chaos, not organized chaos. So
yeah, or productive chaos is another way you could say that, right? Productive chaos. Absolutely. So the other thing, or one of the other many things you talk about in this course, because I'm sorry, we don't have time to talk about everything. You're going to have to go to teachbetter.com, teachbetteracademy.com, and check it out yourself to dig in further, because we're already 20 minutes into this. But you talk about communication, and we all know that stakeholder communication is important for any classroom, but I think for younger children, I'm gonna think of how to say this correctly. You can fix it if I messed it up. Fair enough.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about elementary classrooms, there's a different type of parent-teacher kind of interaction, because you kind of have their babies in your room, right? Like, when they're older and teenagers, they get a whole lot less cute and they argue with you a lot more. So it's a little like, yeah, we're good, but you have their little ones in your classroom. So I think the fact that you address communication in this course is super important, just because I think there's a different level of like worry that parents have in the elementary level. I think there's a different level of sort of hands-on nature that they can have. So I'd love for you to just kind of go into that a little bit and what your thoughts around communication in the grid are, because I correct me if I'm wrong, but that's sort of how I feel about elementary. Like, there's a whole different level of parents wanting to know what's going on in their classroom, right?
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. It's because I'm holding their little babies in my hands. They're, especially when I taught kindergarten, I didn't know about grid whenever I taught kindergarten, but had I known, my classroom would have been run differently. But just looking back to when I did teach kindergarten, they trust you so much with those kids. And you have to build that trust with them no matter what you're doing in your classroom. And then you throw in something that they may have never heard of, they've never seen before, and they're going, Like, what are you doing? And I think the biggest thing is that they just don't, they don't want anything new and scary because they don't know what that looks like. They've never seen it before. So I think the biggest thing is just keeping that open line of communication with kids, families, because if Johnny's mom wants to know what's going on, you have the information right there to show Johnny's mom. So I think that's a huge benefit of that, is just being able to, take the information that you gather and show them, like, hey, by doing this, I'm able to do more with your child, and I know better where they are than I would in a traditional classroom. Like I said several times, I have gone to the point where I know more about a child, and parents never want less intervention with their kids. They want you to give them more. So I feel like I know more about kids, and so I'm able to keep that open line of communication and ultimately build that trust with parents because they know that what I'm doing is best for their child. And it just kind of, parents come back to me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, you knew so much about my kid. You understand so much about them.
Yeah.
You know more than I do. And how in the world did you figure that out?" And I said, I took the time to communicate with each child and meet them where they were at. And, just keeping that open line of communication, I think, is the biggest thing, especially with elementary families.
Yeah, especially because you're going to have so much more information from running the grid on student progress and growth and interaction. The ability to share that and articulate that is going to just strengthen that confidence the parent has in your ability as an educator. Well, Amanda, I can't even explain how excited I am for this to be released into the world. I'm going to put the Teach Better Academy site up here real quick so you all know where to go to get this. It's teachbetteracademy.com. You can search through all the courses, but it's Elementary Gone Grid. It's from Amanda and it's from Ray Hewart. And what is your final takeaway? Like, I know you basically put your heart and soul into this course. And I know how big your heart and soul are because I've known you and we've been friends for such a long time. So that speaks volumes to me. I know how much you pour your passion into everything you do. Because if I'm being honest, you literally are the heart of the Teach Better team. Like, not only in your role, but you literally are. Like, that's your position on the team. So I know that huge heart and all of that passion went into this course. And I'm just so excited for not only the Teach Better family and community and nation to get to know you better, but to be able to take away so many strategic tips and tools and resources and ideas from everything you put into this course. So I'm going to give you the kind of the final word in terms of why people should check out this course. And then I'm going to let you go because you've done so much work on this course. I think you can clock out at this point. I think you're good. You're you're good.
Woohoo! I think, the biggest thing is just, if there's something that isn't answered by what's in this course, please, please, please reach out to me, reach out to Ray, reach out to the team. We are more than willing to help anyone with anything. I have resources that I can share from, different subjects, different grade levels, whatever you need. But like you said, this is my heart and soul. I've put what I've learned over the last 4 years. I can't believe it's been 4 years that I've been doing this. And it's weird to me to think that 4 years ago I had no idea what this was. And now here I am as a member of the Teach Better team and putting out this course to help people all over the world just
It's amazing.
become better. And I mean, that's the whole point. So like I said, if there's something that you're still needing after this course, I mean, I put a lot in there, so you might not. But if you do, please, please, please reach out, because like Chad said, this is what I love, and I'm more than willing to help anyone that I can.
I can't say it any better than that. Thank you, everyone who tuned in now, or if you're watching this later, check out Elementary Gone Grid. It's our brand new course just released at teachbetteracademy.com. Have a great night and stay awesome, everyone.